Well, welcome everybody to our Sunday night edition of Global Strangeness. We are three strangers brought together by the love of everything paranormal, spooky, and downright strange in the world. So myself, Debra, Jeremy, and Scott. And as you all know, we take turns each week picking topics. And this week it was Scott's turn, and he pulled a fast one on us. We don't know what his topic is. We all brought to the table the things that are nearest and dearest to our heart, which is hilarious when you hear Jeremy's. But I'm very intrigued. We're going to let Scott take it away because he won't tell us what he's doing. So,
well, actually, I'm going to be too drunk to read by three people in here.
You don't have to tell people.
They know. Our viewers know. Okay,
our viewers definitely know.
So you guys have both seen the Jeepers Creepers movie?
No, but I know that
you haven't seen like the original Jeepers Creepers from 2001?
Never. I've seen the Supernatural episode where they do the same thing, kind of, and I'm good on that. So,
what about you, Debra? You've seen it, right?
I have, but I don't know. I'd have to talk about it to remember it all. I know I've seen it.
Okay, so I thought you guys would have both definitely have saw it. This was an actual somewhat of a true story. So the beginning of the movie was based on something that happened similarly. There was this dude, Dennis LePreux, and he murdered his wife, Marilyn, and then stashed the body. So do you guys remember that part of the movie where, well, we'll get into it a little bit more, but he was married to his wife for about 18 years, and then his wife ended up wanting a divorce, and then so he went to go pick up his kids on a Easter Sunday, and the kids didn't want to go with him, so him and the wife started arguing, and he pushed the wife, and she fell down the stairs and got all fucked up. So then he told his kids, like, hey, I'm going to take your mom to the hospital type of a thing. And the movie story actually starts out when Ray and Marie Thornton, they were just driving down Prairie Road, supposed to be the same type of road in the movie, when Dennis's van pulls up to him and just starts like fucking tailgating him super close. And then the dude aggressively just zooms by him and goes, down the road a couple miles. Couple miles later, they see the van, and this is probably where you'll start to remember. The dude's got the van parked next to a schoolhouse. There's a big pipe, and he's carrying a bloody sack of something. Like it's just this white cloth covered in fucking blood. So the couple that was, just getting tailgated, Marie notices that his license plate says GZ3877. And then she makes the comment, geez, that guy's going fast. So that's like, I think they actually show that license plate in the fucking movie, but the main villain's license plate is supposed to be eating you, and then do you remember this now, where they keep saying beating you? Jeepers Creepers. Okay, well,
my cousins were watching that shit when I was like in middle school, and I just freaking was like, nope, I ain't trying to have nightmares tonight, I'm good.
Man, that was that's like in every Halloween. I'm pretty sure when we did our Halloween list.
My wife just watched the new one that they did, but
that one sucked.
Yeah, well,
the third one wasn't very good either. But this is Dennis and his wife.
Did the new Jeepers Creepers suck or no? Yeah, she agrees with you.
So,
I wasted my time waiting for it.
What?
I wasted my time waiting for it.
She wasted her time waiting for it.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest. But yeah, then they take off, and a couple miles later,
he looks like the fucking alien from Men in Black.
Yeah, no, he is pretty creepy looking. That's the dude that killed his wife. He ended up shooting his wife in the head in his van after he took him away from the fucking house. Easter Sunday, mind you. He had like 4 kids in the house, got into an argument with the mom, pushed the mom down the stairs,
That's
and
the
then
guy
said,
Jeepers
"Don't
Creepers
worry,
based on,
kids.
the true story.
We're just gonna take your mom to the hospital real quick," and then shoots
He
the
killed his
mom in the
wife.
fucking head.
Like, I feel from that photo, you can almost predict something like that is coming
You,
from
you
him.
got
I
toothpick,
know.
you got a toothpick over there or something?
He doesn't look very happy.
And what's weird is, that's a posed photo. Like, that was
You
they
use
made
anything to
money
get
for
hash out of
that
your bowl?
portrait.
They were trying to look really like nice
Right?
and happy and shit. Yeah. 80s. Well, I guess this happened in 1990, so 90s technically.
Oh, trust me, I've listened to enough Crimes of Passion podcasts to know that the 90s were full of crimes of passion.
But yeah, no, anyway, so they, the dude starts tailgating him, and then he passes him, and then they keep driving. A couple miles later, they see that guy in the van, like I said. There's fucking just this bloody rag. And then the van catches back up to the car. And this time he's like really fucking tailgating the hell out of these people. And then they turn down a road to try to get away from him. And just some random road, not where they're going. And then Ray and Marie start talking, and they decide that they need to go back and like find out what this dude's actually doing. Like, did he kill somebody, or are we just tripping out? But when they get back to the intersection, they see Dennis changing license plates, and he's got the passenger side door open, and it's just covered in fucking blood. So then they drive back to the schoolhouse to see what the fuck he was like throwing in the schoolyard, like in the movie. And if you guys haven't seen this movie, you should definitely fucking watch it tonight.
I'm watching like every movie from 1984 right now for a podcast. So,
well, eventually they make it back to the school, and they found a blanket that was completely soaked in blood that he had tried to throw down like a foxhole or something unsuccessfully. Like the shit's like hanging out the sides and stuff. So they go directly to the police, they go directly to a payphone to call the police. And the children have already called the police on their dad. And a day later, looking for Dennis, they found the body of the mom, who was dumped off in just like a different part of the road in between the schoolhouse and Dennis's wife's house. So for a year afterwards, Dennis starts sending his friends and family letters with this like biblical text and shit about how like the mother was trying to take me out of the family, and God wouldn't appreciate this, and like really weird shit. And then a year after, like almost a year exactly after the murder, Unsolved Mysteries did an episode on it. So then Dennis was living with his girlfriend in Texas, and he saw the episode and took off that night. But
So he wasn't in jail?
no, he had made it for like a year. He had a whole new life. He was living with a new girlfriend in Texas. They were like, farther south than he was living. But one of the girlfriend's family members actually saw the episode, and they called the police. And while Dennis was trying to get away, he got into a high-speed chase with the police. He ended up shooting 2 of the cop tires, but then they had a roadblock, and he stopped there at the end of the roadblock and ends up shooting himself in the head in the same van that he shot his wife.
well, I mean, you know how it is, Deborah. You shoot your wife, you go look for a younger model. You got to trade in your car eventually,
Oh, jeez. Do you have to shoot your car though? Can't you just?
Well, I mean, if you want to make it, unlike a car, a wife can't just be sold and get a new one. I mean, you know,
I mean,
so
maybe your old car can find a nice young driver. There you go.
That's probably more likely. What I'm thinking though is like, you know, if you actually want to get away with it, maybe your driver decides he likes other drivers from now on and just puts that as a front. You know what I'm not even interested in cars. What the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, it would be a smart way to do it, but I don't know. It's
Then
just
we
better to be like
wouldn't,
it's better to be like the Mormons. That way you have like 5 wives. That way you get sick of one, you go to the next house.
yeah,
Big love
that
style.
works out great.
What's that show with Cody and all his wives? I'm like, look at that poor guy. I don't think it's working out that well for him to have a whole bunch of wives. He looks pretty stressed.
Got fucking like 5 people bitching at him all the time, huh?
Right? Yeah, it does not seem like he's
And-
having a good time.
They don't even know all of their kids' names at that point. Like I like watching a lot of that FLDS kids that escape type shit. And I mean, they'll have 100 fucking kids and put these kids to work. They don't even know the fucking kid's name.
I know, right? That's so, I can't imagine the kids being raised in that lifestyle and you have
Oh.
like 2 brothers and sisters. I mean, you're just a number. Like, it is bizarre. It is.
It's literally like, hey, seed number 45, get back to work.
Then they have a fucking favorite wife and like a second favorite wife, and then all the other wives start teaming up against those people, and then they pick on the least favorite wife, and like, I mean, that would be a goddamn nightmare.
Well, those wives got to start performing better so they get up in the numbers better. Come on now. Common sense.
Okay, so my next story is paranormal. You'll see at the end. You might not think, Jeremy probably won't think it's paranormal for sure.
Dude,
But-
I had a guest on my show this week talking about hands-free orgasms. Like, paranormal is very wide range.
Okay, so like on the show, we've brought up a bunch of ancient cultures and how they've had like, you know, the same visions and shit, and like they draw the same reptile creatures and everything.
Yep.
And I've linked it to hallucinogenics before, but this week my topic is on research that Imperial College is doing on DMT.
Oh, God.
So DMT, obviously the most potent trip you can ever have. So I mean, this has got some stats and dates and stuff, so just bear with me. In 1972, 2 scientists, J.M. Saavedra and J. Axelrod, found out humans have low concentration of indigenous DMT in our brain that is localized in particular parts of the brain. Then in 1981, 3 scientists, Barker, Monty, and Christian, did a study on rats where they found out that the DMT concentration would move to different parts of the brain under different circumstances. So to this day, there are a lot of scientists. See, I'm already doing it. God bless you guys for letting me go first. There are a lot of scientists who speculate about what DMT's role in our body is, but they think it might have fundamental roles in like psychosis, dreams, creativity, imagination, religious and spiritual phenomenon, and near-death experiences, which is pretty cool. But they did kind of a similar study. Someone else did a similar study between DMT research and near-death experiences, and they found that there's a lot in common with the two. So, I mean, everybody says that when you die, your pineal gland, even the fucking Egyptians, you know, they tie it to that, where on the 47th day of birth, you get your soul, and that's like when DMT shows up in your brain, and then when you die, you get like a flush, and that's how the near-death experience works. But a fun fact, in 1992, when they were doing research on near-death experiences, they found out that 13 million people in America claimed that they had a near-death experience. So that's 5% of America at the time. That's pretty fucking crazy. I think they had some TV shows and everybody wanted to say they had one.
I believe that though. I just interviewed someone not this past week, but the week before, that's part of a society of people who've had NDEs, and they all meet and talk.
Yeah, it might be. I do 100% believe that there are some people trying to catch on the bandwagon myself.
And so what's the difference, like near death experience and then where you actually die and come back? That's a whole,
Well, that's what near-death experience is. It's when you actually die and come back.
So
I don't think they classify near death as.
I mean, that's everyone I talk to that's had an NDE or near-death experience. They have died, like literally died for like a certain amount of time, whether it be hours or minutes, and then came back.
Then that seems like a lot. Like 5% of people have died and then come back.
With the population of America, that's not a lot. Even in '90, that wasn't a lot for the population of America. Like,
I guess.
I mean, Americans do stupid shit all the time.
Well, what's really crazy is to think that 5% of America in 1992 was only 13 million people. Now I don't even think we know how many people. Last time I saw it was over 300 million. So that's a huge increase.
Well, people do stupid shit every year, so
Hmm.
You're plugging in the Christmas lights around Christmas, you electrocute yourself, you have a near-death experience,
Okay, so now I'm going to get into some stats. Might be a little boring, but one of their Imperial College's previous studies they conducted, it was a patient group of 2,561 people. So keep that in mind. And in this group, they were smoking DMT. So you have a trip from like 3 to 5 minutes. You're basically peaking on a full dose for 3 minutes. When the patients were asked to describe the entities that they came in contact with, and they will get to choose multiple things, but 43% of them described the entities as being a guide. 39% described them as being a spirit, while another 39 said they were alien. 34% of them said that they were a helper. 16% said an angel, and there was like 9% that said they were an elf. But more crazy, 96% of the patients described the entities as being conscious and self-aware of themselves. So like the actual entities themselves seemed like they were conscious, like you guys look on the other side. And then another 96% of the patients described the entities as being extremely intelligent. So like more intelligent than I would think of myself.
So they're my level of intelligence. Good to know.
70% of them describe the beings as being like a sacred being. So like something, in the realm of alien or whatever religion, spirituality you believe in. But the crazier part of the study had 72% of the 2,561 patients that believed, even though they were out of the trip, whatever entities they came in contact with still existed. So they weren't like hallucinations. They were something that existed in a different realm. So 72%, that's pretty.
Well, put it this way, Scott. There's a lucid dreamer / astral projectionist that I want to get on our show. That he's been on my show. I want to bring him on our show because he has his own podcast now. He claims that when you lucid dream, you go to different dimensions, which he says there's countless ones, not just the number that people like to say there is, but there's countless ones. And he says like people, and other people have agreed with this, like that might be what heaven and hell is, just another dimension.
Yeah.
And when we die, we just go to another dimension. Our spirit can go through dimensions when we die.
Well, try thinking of the fourth dimension, dude, because that's like our 3D dimension, except time is another line that we see.
That'd
So,
be
like,
cool.
trying to comprehend that is
You could walk backwards and go back to better times in life. Come on.
I don't even
Or
think we could
timeline
perceive
jump.
it.
You just jump to a different timeline.
If you wanted to live it in a 3D world, but like we can't live in the 2D world. So I think it's like totally fucking different.
I
I
think
gotta go for it.
I think you just start interacting with the other dimensions. Like, so we're talking about spirit guides here and angels and however they present. Everybody has them. I think you just are able to be in the 3D world, but be conscious of everything that's going on in other dimensions altogether. That's what fourth dimension is, I think.
Yeah,
Or-
I don't think
or-
we can comprehend it though. Like,
Or
I
as
don't
Scott,
think
or
we
as
can
Scott and I
imagine
call it, just being really fucked up. But
But lots of people see entities and spirits and energies and whatever. I think it's getting way more and more and more common, right? I
or
think
it's just a
people lucid dream. Lots of people astral project while they're sleeping,
Well-
even if they're doing it. But you're going to all over the place in these different dimensions.
well, Debra. I mean, the paranormal is the new normal.
It is like that. Literally, I think more and more people are getting their abilities. Waking
that's
up
what-
their abilities and exploring
and-
all this stuff, and it's becoming way more normal.
And that's what my podcast is called. That because
I know.
guests bring it up freaking constantly. That's a great name because it's true. But
Okay, back to stats. We have 81% of the 2,500 people or whatever it was that said their DMT experience felt more real than regular life. That's something to think about. Like 81% said it felt more real than regular life. I've never done this. I mean, I would love to.
surprising.
I have a lot of friends who have done it, but I have never gotten my hands on it. So 80% of them say that the experience has totally altered their entire conception of fundamental reality, which might not be a good thing for me.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen a lot of posts. I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook about this too. Like, and a lot of podcast guests and stuff are like, they're like, I'm a DMT hallucinogen expert. Like, I'll be on your show. I'm like, I would love that to be on, but I can't relate yet to the paranormal 100%. Like, I could, if you had like, I don't know, if you could add something to the paranormal, sure, but I don't think you can. Like, it's just.
I think you're
ayahuasca or whatever. People do that to open themselves spiritually. Is that
well, that's DMT too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a slower, longer lasting form though. So I'm gonna get into something really cool at the end here.
But I mean, I don't know. Maybe DMT is just by putting more DMT into your system. Maybe that's how you unplug from the matrix.
Yeah, kind of. You just sort of jump into whatever is after this. Is where I'm going with this. Like, I think it might be, and I got something cool. It's coming up. So the last thing is 76%. This last stat: 76% of all patients are less afraid of death after they have one DMT trip. So, I mean, that might say something. But now we're getting into the cool thing. Right now, there's a team of doctors. So we got Dr. Andrew Gallimore, Dr. Chris Timmerman, and Daniel McQueen's not technically a doctor, but they're taking the game one step higher. So in the new studies, instead of smoking the DMT, they're going to do an IV drip that will allow these people to stay in DMT realm for 45 minutes to an hour. And the only reason why they want to cut it at an hour is because, like, have you ever had an IV and then, like, you got to piss all of a sudden? You haven't drinking anything, but, like, it just makes you want to piss really bad. So it's the bathroom thing. But when they do this, they've studied like high DMT users, people who use it all the fucking time, and then like shaman around the world and indigenous tribes. And they say that they actually get to like befriend one of these entities. So this entity keeps coming back to them every time, and they're, you know, have like a relationship with the entity. But so they're looking for that, but not only are they looking for that, they're going to try to map the DMT world, because everybody who is like having these trips, it's not like mushrooms or acid or whatever, where like, you know, whatever's on your mind is going to progress. Beavis and Butthead videos, like they're going into the same realm. So they're actually starting to map the world where everybody's seeing the same type of shit. And
if everybody goes to that dimension, right? Because you can go,
yes,
there's so many different dimensions, but people who astral project can meet. They can plan to meet, and they can meet during a projection. So that's cool. But it's weird that they're trying to map and cite, you know, like it's big.
yeah, no, but well, it's cool. Like the world was big, right? But we mapped it. And they're not trying to let me find this part. So before I get into that, the other thing the IV is going to allow them to do is go into the realm and leave the realm at slower paces, because when you come out, apparently you don't remember a whole lot, but when you're like halfway out, that's when you start describing to whoever you're doing it with, and they'll write it down or whatever. So they're going to be able to extend that process a lot longer. So you're like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, describing everything that fucking happened to you. But, oh yeah, if you guys want to learn more about this, go to the Oxford Psychedelic Society on YouTube. They've got a bunch of interesting videos.
Why don't they? So have you guys ever heard of Dolores Cannon?
I have not, no.
So
No.
she does this like regressional like hypnotherapy sessions with people, and she takes them like they've had interactions in other dimensions, past lives, all this stuff. And it's really interesting, but like why wouldn't they just do that rather than try to have them in a drug induced situation? Why not just, you know, do regressional hypnotherapy and find out?
Well, like this would be straight from the horse's mouth, right? And like
Yes,
DMT is already in our brain. So like this isn't technically a drug. You're just like releasing something that's naturally in your brain. So like, what is that? Is it true that when we die, we just get a flush and that sucks us out into the fucking vortex? Or
I mean, I don't know about that, but all I can say is, Egon, if they ask you if you're a god, you say yes.
no, I think you're gonna want to go into that world a lot more humble, my friend. These things have probably been around a lot longer than we have.
Yeah.
But yeah, to finish it out, like when they're going to map it, they're going to try to figure out how time works. Because time, have you guys ever like huffed anything that made you think that you were like living another life for weeks and weeks at a time, months?
No, Scott, no.
Okay, well, that's kind of what they're going to do, is try to see how time works, and then the types of structures and plant lives, and then the levels depending on the dosage. So apparently, you know, the higher the dose, the lower the dose, like you're in a different level of the multiverse. And then like I said, they're gonna try to have conversations with these entities and just sort of map it out. And that I personally think that would be fucking awesome. Like that, if they can prove that this is a real place through multiple people, like that proves afterlife.
But what about people that can do that without DMT? They just do it. Like
Well,
I said, people that astral project, they can meet and they can verify stuff with each other and
get them
you know,
all together. This is one step closer to getting all of these people together and seeing what's what, right?
Build Hogwarts.
It's exciting to think there's so much more to the world. Like so much more than a person ever figured.
Yeah, no, I mean,
well,
I'm subscribed. I'm gonna continue watching and see like you know, if they come up with any progress on this, because that is very interesting.
I mean, anybody with intelligence always knew there was more to life than what we know. Like, I
no,
say
but
all the time.
how strong and how much we can actually interact and manipulate, travel, and do whatever we want.
I
So
mean,
that's very interesting.
Tesla and Einstein knew it was true.
Yeah.
The ancients knew it was true. So I mean, it's been around forever. But
What got me to start doubting was like back when I was a kid and I started drinking liquor, like vodka and whiskey every night, and I would black out and I would remember like my hands holding the bottle, and then I would just wake up somewhere totally different. There was no like, it wasn't like normal drunk blackouts where it's fuzzy and shit, you know, times were missing and stuff. It was just like time travel. And I had always thought to myself, like, what was my soul doing then? Like, how do I not remember any of that? So I don't know. I want to try DMT. There's a place in Colorado close to us where they're doing these trials. God willing, I'll have enough money. I've got one more little thing, should take about a minute. And it is a video. Share sound.
well, apparently my wife either just saw a UFO or the Chinese spying on us.
The Chinese.
She just saw a UFO or the Chinese.
Had to be the Chinese.
She said it was like she said it looked like an airplane, but it was like zigzagging back and forth faster than any plane ever could.
Oh, crazy. Did she whip out her phone? Did she get any footage?
Oh, zipping. No, I'm sorry, zipping, not zigzagging, zipping. And it almost zigzag pattern, but like a plane shouldn't move like that. So either the Chinese have some shit we don't know about, or it's a UFO trying to like camouflage itself.
That's cool.
Tell her to go out there and get a picture.
Get a picture, get some footage.
They said go take a picture or a video.
Jeremy, you've never done mushrooms, right? You said you've only smoked marijuana.
I did acid once, but I never did mushrooms.
And Debra, you've been a sober mober.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am such a baby when it comes to that stuff. Yep.
I don't know if this will work. It works on your phone, so if it doesn't work right now, this will kind of give you what is happening to the walls during mushrooms for like a couple of seconds. But try.
All I know is if we go on a paranormal investigation together at some point eventually, Deborah's gonna be having a lot of fun that night between what me and Scott will introduce you to.
Hopefully
No,
we can get some mushrooms.
you scare
for
me.
that. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
So just look at the center of it. And then look at the wall right after it's done, right when this screen turns. It's
Trippy
not that
dude.
long.
Trippy dude.
It's gonna kind of make the walls pulse, like if you're on mushrooms, for a couple seconds. Yeah, it kind of worked for me a little bit.
I can't say it really worked for me, but
I don't think it works for me at all.
Well, try it on your phone, and
Okay.
try not to like just focus on the X. Try to unfocus your eyes.
Yeah. It's like those pictures where there's a hidden picture under.
Yes.
oh, I hate those
Do
fucking
that.
things.
Do that thing.
My
Those
dad
are cool.
loved my dad loved that fucking book back in the 90s. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, I love those things.
Hell yeah, that was our toilet book, dude. It was awesome.
That seems like a good way to fall off the toilet and hit your head. Just saying.
Okay, I'm done.
Cool. Hey,
Well-
well
We'll let Debra. We'll let Debra crush on next.
Okay, well, I seriously have about 5 minutes of stuff here, so.
Do you want me to bring your photo up immediately, or are you going to give me a cue?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just so. Of course, anyone, all our listens to us knows I love vampires, so we get to.
BRB.
That's who I'm talking about. Because we're going to be talking about the undead. It may as well be good-looking ones.
Like me.
So, anyways, I was kind of excited. Like I know we've talked about vampires on the show before, but I found this group and it's Canadian, so I thought that was kind of cool. And they had some different kind of traditions, and they were actually pretty like they believed this stuff. It was kind of crazy. So anyways, and this was in the 60s. This young Harvard-educated linguist named Jan Louis Perkowski. He heard that some rumors that there was these people, and they were called the Canadian Kachab community, that was living in Eastern Canada, and they believed in all sorts of, the occult and whatever, demonology and all this. And one of their core beliefs was in vampires. And so he's like really kind of fascinated by this. So in 1968, he received funding from the National Museum of Monon-Gatineau, Quebec, which is now the Canadian Museum of History. So they funded him to go out and investigate this. I thought that was pretty cool. They put some money there. And anyways, he went to Wilno, Ontario, where he interviewed 15 Polish Canadians and documented their folklore and tradition. Like, wouldn't that be a fun job? You get to go to some little town where there's, vampires and spooky stuff going on, and you get to just talk to all the locals and hear it all. But anyway, so he completed this study in 1969, and three years later, he published his paper called "Vampire, Dwarves, and Witches Among the Ontario Kachubs." So, anyways, in this paper, he claims to have interviewed all these people, and there's a strong vampire tradition amongst these people, and it comes from their European cousins, because obviously these people all emigrated. And so, according to his informants, because they took this serious, like he was reporting legit first-hand tales or whatever. The Kashubian vampire is a malicious undead being unto which certain people transform after death. And when left alone, the vampire will emerge from his coffin at night and visit the homes of his relatives and kill them by sucking their blood or carry them away to never be seen again. So that's standard vampire stuff, right?
Okay.
And then once the blood-sucking guy has killed his whole family, it seems like they go after their own family first. And once he's taken care of all his own family, then he goes to a local chapel and rings a church bell. And anybody who hears that church bell dies within a year. I was like, well, that's interesting.
That's fucked up.
So, right? So you think if you want to prank people, like a bunch of teenagers, you run and ring the bell and everybody's scared. But yeah, I'd never heard that before. And anyways, according to these people, though, this is what I thought was really interesting, because I've not heard of this with vampires before. But anyways, according to this Perkowski guy, the people he was interviewing, there's 2 signs which indicate a person's will become a vampire. And it's both like they occur at birth. So it's not like you get bit and then you turn into a vampire. You're born a vampire, according to these people. And so, according to them, babies who are born with a caul, which is like this is gross, but it's a cap of placental membrane on their head, they are believed to transform into vampires called Ashki. I'm saying that wrong. After death. And then also, any babies who are born with 2 teeth, on the other hand, they're Wapji, and there's no difference between them aside from which natal weirdo thing that they were born with. I was like, that's weird. So nothing about if you get bitten that you turn into one, which is so different, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, according to these people, there's only one method by which the people that have the membrane thing on their head when they're born, they can be prevented from becoming a vampire if this is so disgusting. So they take that placental cap and it's dried and ground into powder, and on their seventh birthday, the powder is ground up and put in their food and they eat it. They
Well,
don't get
That
that.
sounds
mean-
like fucking child abuse, dude.
I mean,
It's disgusting.
there are plenty of parents that eat the placenta. That's not that normal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but this
7 years later.
Well, if you're grinding up to dust, then I mean, who cares?
I guess, but like,
Would
I
you
don't
eat
know.
my crap if it was ground into a dust and dried for 7 years?
No,
Just-
Scott, I would not.
Like, who thinks?
Well, there we go.
It's like, who thinks is like, okay, we wait 7 years and then we feed it to the kid. He'll be fine then. Like, how did they figure that out? Anyways,
Yeah, you gotta wonder like who came up with these rules, right? Probably somebody who's just trying to be funny.
I don't know.
Mm.
Anyways, and then the other kind, I forget what they were called. The Wupchi. There's no cure for them. They're gonna be a vampire. The ones
And-
that are born with 2 teeth. If you're born with 2 teeth, you're a vampire. That's it. There's no coming back from that. So what they do with those guys is they will when they die, they put sand into their grave because pouring sand, according to these people, pouring sand into the corpse's coffin will prevent the vampire from resurrecting for as many years as there are grains of sand. Because the vampire cannot rise until it's counted every grain, and the speed at which it counts is rarely exceeds 1 grain per year. So he's like counting like 1 piece of sand a year, so he'll never get out of there. Again, I don't know who figured that out. And also they would also place fishing nets inside the coffin for as many years as there are knots, because he's only allowed to untie 1 knot per year. And I'm like, would the vampire follow these fucking rules? Like if they're undead and
Of course they would, Deborah. Jiminy crickets.
it's like, oh, I have more knots and not allowed out. Anyways, and then another one, they would actually put them face down so that when it's clawing its way out of the casket, it's actually clawing its way down deeper into the earth, which makes sense. I can see how they think of that. Anyways, at least I can see.
Do they think any zombie that was stupid they couldn't turn around and start digging up?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, what do they do? Like smash the coffin until they can rip something inward and then start digging? Like how do they get out in the first place if they're
Well,
upside down?
Yeah, I don't know. I like, how do they get out normally? Like normal vampires.
I mean 6 feet, that's a lot. I could do the math on the weight of dirt that is. It's a fuckload. Probably at least a Volkswagen.
I mean, they're always nicely dressed and very clean, so I think they're just, projecting out. I don't think they're clawing and scratching their way out. Like, they'd be filthy by the time they got out. Anyways, like, it's not like a zombie. Like, they always look well put together. Why I love them. So, anyways, but more realistically, like other times we talked about vampires, a more permanent solution is to place a small cross made from poplar wood inside the coffin, sometimes under their tongue, which I didn't know they put crosses, but poplar crosses appear to be Canadian substitutes for the rosary crucifixes, which is what the European Kashabs place under the tongues of their own suspected vampires. So they think, what a rosary is, right? And the little tiny crucifix off the bottom. They'd stick that under their tongue, and apparently that'd keep them in place. And then if none of those precautions are taken before the vampire is buried, there's only one thing you can do, and somebody has to exhume. They have to dig him back up, and at midnight, and they have to drive a long nail into his forehead, or decapitate him with a shovel and place his head between his feet. Like, that's pretty cool. And people who attempt to do this will often open the coffin to find the vampire already sitting up with his eyes open, looking around wildly and stammering, unintelligible words. I'm like, are they burying live people, do you think? Like,
So do they think that the vampire is some sort of like spirit thing that comes out, or he digs his ass out every night and then goes back in every night and covers that hole up?
And that's what I mean. That makes no sense, but that seems to be what they think, is like he's digging his way up and you can trick him into, but yeah, like really, is he like reburying himself all the time after he's done all the killing and stuff? Like, that makes no sense.
Sounds like some sick fucks that just want to cut a head off a dead body.
And I mean, he's interviewing these people in the 60s. This is not like, 1810 or anything. Like, it's kind of crazy.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, by Dracula lore, which predates that, they never slept in the ground. Once they get out of the ground, like they just go sleep. They bring their coffin to their castle, go sleep in it.
That's true. They just get a dark dank.
This is some wannabe hippie that read too much Aleister Crowley. That's what I'm thinking.
So yeah, anyways, so according to this Perkowski's informants, people in this town of Wilknows, they had to resort to this measure on more than one occasion. Like, is that not against the law? I mean, again, in the 60s, that's against the law, isn't it?
The whole town was doing it? It wasn't just a bunch of freaks?
So that's the whole thing is, so he, you know, this guy in his report, he said it was prevalent, like everyone believed this. And, you know, he wrote this book, it was in the museum and everything. And then, so here's a quote. There was a lot of that we'll know in the graves. They open the graves, they cut the heads off. When they die and were born vampires and are not seen to, they will have to dig up the graves. And first he carries off his relatives, and then as far as the bell rings. It happened at Wilno. They've dug up many, but it was not revealed. They had to dig it up and cut off its head while he sat in the coffin. Like, that's a direct quote of it. Kind of sounds strange, but anyways. And so when he first published his paper, it was 1972, by the time he was done all his research and whatever. And people in this town were pissed. Because they were like, you know, I can't believe this was printed. They're like stories my grandmother would tell us to scare us. And it's, you know, is it possible that, you know, one or two nuts believed in this stuff? But to imply that everyone does is ridiculous. And so people were pissed because apparently he made it sound like everybody, like this is common practice, whatever. And it is just a few nuts. And so, yeah, there's a lot of pissed people that went down in history in the museum as this whole, you know, belief system that they thought was just like a, you know, scary story, basically. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, somebody was actually doing that to graves. Somebody believed it enough. And so I thought that was like, that's not that long ago. To have people picking up graves and cutting off heads. And like,
1972, you said, was the end of it?
Was when he actually published the thing, and then people got pissed off. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting story. That's my vampire story. Thought I'd share that. What do you think about that? Because that's got some different takes.
Yeah, that's fucking strange for a vampire story.
Right? I mean, they're pretty common. Usually you get bitten on the neck, you turn into one, you know, whatever. But yeah.
I think when we start nuking each other and I tell everybody that, you know, the rest of the survivors that I talked to Jesus, I'm going to use that same story. Keep people in line. That sounds like a good one.
Nice. Nice.
God on his DMT talking to Jesus.
Talking to Jesus, yeah.
We won't even be able to get DMT once the world goes to shit. It'll be my last chance. I'll have to do like Kundalini rope yoga or some shit.
Well, was that all you had, Debra?
That is it. That's my little vampire fear.
Well, now that Debra's all turned on talking about vampires, let's go to talking about my topic, and let's talk about sex, baby, between a ghost and me.
Jesus.
But yeah, my topic, and I having the episode this week about hands-free orgasms and erotic hypnosis made me want to do this topic. Because I touched on my podcast like a year ago almost, but spectrophilia, which is a sexual attraction to either ghosts or sexual arousal from images in mirrors, which, I mean, I see myself in a mirror all the time and get that, but whatever. As well as the alleged phenomenon of sexual encounters between ghosts and humans. So, and it's also described as a fetish, classified as a paraphilia. Basically, people who do this, I mean, I don't know how much I believe this stuff. I mean, I really don't, which I actually have a Reddit post about this that I'm going to read in a minute, but...
Hold on a second. Debra, do you believe in this stuff?
I believe in spirits, but I don't know about sex with them. I don't know.
Have you not seen Scary Movie 2?
That was a
Present-
comedy, my friend.
Well, actually, there's a lot more movies that support this theory as well besides Ghost. But get to that in a minute.
I knew we were
But-
getting some Bigfoot erotica.
No, you're not. But accounts of paranormal encounters with ghosts and spirits frequently include sexual encounters, which are often described as being non-consensual or unpleasant. Many traditional ghost stories and legends include some element of seduction or temptation. Stories featuring female ghosts who lure men to their deaths are especially common, such as the Latin American legend of La Llorona. In Western folklore, the succubus or incubus parallel the modern phenomenon of spectrophilia, which everybody knows what succubus is. It's a demon or evil spirit that takes on a female human form to seduce men and drain them of semen or energy.
Doesn't that go back to like Judeo text?
That goes back to ever since women have been a thing. But the counterpart of the succubus is the incubus, which is a demon that's said to take on a male human form. The incubus, much like the succubus, is said to seduce women into sex with the objective of impregnating them. The mare is another example from European folklore. However, then this is Scott's part right here. These accounts have been linked to documented phenomenon of sleep paralysis, in which individuals experience hallucinations, which often involve spectral figures. The prevalence of sexual elements in these hallucinations is theorized to be due to repressed sexual frustration or anxiety.
That was a
Folklore.
great quote for me. Thank you.
It's something you would say, but
Something I would say.
folklorist David Hufford estimated that approximately 15% of the population had experienced the phenomenon at least once in their lives. Despite lack of scientific evidence for the phenomenon of spectrophilia, it has become a frequently talked about subject among ghost hunters, including Ghost Adventures and the travel show channel Ghostly Lovers. Online forums also contribute to the belief in sexual encounters with ghosts, as well as the idea they were not necessarily harmful. Many stories about romance between humans and ghosts, especially men and female ghosts, appear in the book Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio by Pu Songling.
There's actually a travel channel show about this.
Why wouldn't there be, Scott? Why wouldn't there be? But
I haven't watched cable in a long time, I guess.
I mean, and several films have dealt with this concept. Among them, The Entity in 1982, Ghostbusters in 1984, Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 7, Ghosts 1990, Scary Movie 2 2001, The Anatomy of a Fall 2011, and Dust Maiden of Amnesia 2008. The Phantom of the Opera is also a story with spectrophilic elements. And many romantic ballet plots involve ghostly women and dancers dressed in ghostly white costumes, such as the Willis of Giselle or Sylphides in La Sylphide. So there's a history of this going back a long time. And we'll play that video in a minute there, Scott. But so if you want to get it loaded up, you can, because this next
No,
part will
I
take a
got
minute.
it loaded.
All right. Well,
Commercial free.
this is a post on Reddit 10 months ago from Gullible Leading 226. This happened around 2019, and I still think about it to this day. I can't make sense of it. I was in my room sitting on my bed doing nothing particular. I felt a presence begin to have sex with me. I was confused and thought maybe since I had my crush in my thoughts, I imagined it. But there's no way I would feel something this visceral. This was phantom dick. It was nothing like I ever had felt before. It felt amazing. I climaxed very soon, and then that was about it.
Did you
Oh,
say
sorry.
I was doing nothing but tickler?
No, particular.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I read that last sentence wrong. Sorry. I climaxed very soon, and then that was that. It left. I looked it up, and apparently this isn't totally uncommon. Keisha spoke about it, and Lucy Liu had a very similar experience to mine. And then she asked if there are any others who have had this sexual encounter with spirits, which there's 21 comments on this Reddit post. Feel free to go look it up, listeners. I'm not reading them all because some of them are freaking ridiculous, but feel free to go read them all. And yes, apparently Keisha and Lucy Liu had experiences with it because I've heard about those.
Well, you got to give the listeners the Reddit post.
Just go search Spectrophilia Reddit. You'll find it.
So what do you think? Is this just people, having a dream? And then they're like,
I interviewed a former porn star who was into spectrophilia, and he mentioned some kind of almost like part of our body that's like a spirit part of our body that, like, when you're with spirits, it makes you feel like even better or some shit like that. I don't know. Listen to the episode with Giant G.
Did he look like a tweaker?
No, he did not. He looked like a guy who fucked a lot of women and men.
And men. Yeah, this
But
is
so here's the
getting it
thing
off
again with
everywhere.
astral projection. People on Facebook or whatever who do astral projection, they talk about being able to go and have sexual encounters while out of body astral projecting. So maybe that's who these ghosts are. Maybe it's actual, like, someone else who's actually astral projecting. It's not even a ghost, it's a living human doing this.
Well, maybe that's why they say it's non-consensual most of the time.
I would imagine like even astral projection, if that's like the same as DMT, like what we would consider a sexual experience would be totally different in like the fourth dimension. Like I don't know. I try to wrap my mind around.
Play the video, Scott, and let's learn more about this fascinating subject.
Okay, I gotta pee.
Done by master YouTubers.
We gotta share some sound. Don't let there be dead silence. Jeremy, tell us a joke. A funny one.
I don't have any jokes off the top of my head right now, man. I mean,
come on, think of one.
Well, I mean, Trump 2024. I'll go with that.
We lost half the audience. Okay. Oh, got this going.
Do you want someone you can call your boo?
This guy looks.
Or are you just looking for something casual like phantoms with benefits? Does just thinking about a non-corporeal spirit gently covering your naked body give you a booner? Then ghost sex may be right for you. Yes, this video is really about ghost sex, known as spectrophilia. Because with Valentine's Day upon us, this is the perfect opportunity to discuss it. And if you enjoy this type of content, be sure to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos. First, it is important not to confuse my use of the term spectrophilia, which in this case means sexual encounters between the living and an apparition, or a sexual attraction to ghosts, as opposed to spectrophilia relating to a sexual arousal from images and mirrors, as the term can have both meanings. Also, spectrophilia shouldn't be confused with necrophilia. And dang it, I was really hoping to avoid even using that word. But here we are. So yeah, spectrophilia. That's getting turned on by apparitions. Necrophilia is getting turned on by dead corpses. And now suddenly, spectrophilia doesn't seem quite so weird, does it? In this video, I'll present this topic to you as I would any paranormal investigation, to look at all of the evidence in support of and against the claimed experiences. There seems to be a lot to giggle about, but it's important not to diminish the experiences of others, so long as they aren't hurting themselves or anyone else. And as my therapist tells me, as long as a person's beliefs aren't causing problems and conflicts in their daily life, then you're okay. And frankly, as fetishes go, being turned on by ghosts can't be the worst thing out there. I had a friend who was dating a guy that used to suck on strangers' toes at parties. And an exotic dancer I dated in my 20s told me that there was a guy who used to suck out the body fluids from used condoms. So, seriously, after hearing that, I don't think anything else in this video could possibly shock you. And now back to our topic. I previously made a video touching on this subject titled Old Hag, Succubus, Lucid Dreaming, in which I described one of my personal experiences. The subject of ghost sex isn't a new phenomenon, not at all. A belief in the ability for a human to have sexual encounters with supernatural beings is ancient and found in every culture around the globe. Some believe these experiences are with ghosts. which is the primary topic of this video. But others may attribute these encounters to demons, succubus in female form or incubus in male form. And those encounters are typically not thought of as consensual, since the demons seek to feed off of your life force or soul. Now, I will discuss Lilith and the succubus in greater detail in a future video, but this is about ghosts. Sexual attraction to ghosts is one thing, but if we are focused on actual sexual encounters, then we should ask, are the experiences real or imagined? It may seem very real to anyone who has experienced it. Furthermore, perception equals reality, meaning our perception of events often creates our reality. And where you come down on this, no pun intended, really depends on a few things. Do you believe ghosts even exist? And if they do exist, are they actually sitting around waiting for you to be naked so they can fill you up?
Probably.
But they're ghosts. They can pass through walls, so clothing wouldn't even matter, right? And if these encounters are real, is this consensual or is it sexual assault? This may be a matter of perspective and belief. If you think your experience is with a friendly ghost and you're a willing participant, then I guess there's no harm. But if you feel this is a demon coming to feed off of you and you're an unwilling participant, then that's an entirely different matter, isn't it? In 1974, Doris Bither of Culver City, California, contacted parapsychologist Barry Tapp concerning allegations she had been attacked and even raped by one or more invisible entities in her home. The Doris Bither case served as the inspiration for the 1978 book The Entity, which in 1982 was made into a film of the same name. Then we have the original Ghostbusters film from 1984. There's a dream sequence with Dan Aykroyd's character on the receiving end of a boo job. And no spectrophilia list would be complete without mentioning 1990's Ghost with Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze.
One rule I asked you to follow. One. Look! I had it made before he died. It's not in bad taste.
In 1995, Casper and Christina Ricci shared a PG-rated kiss. Scary Movie 2 from 2001 has a fairly graphic scene of, man, I'm not even sure if it's meant to be consensual because it looks like a ghost raping a victim, which is played for laughs. And that's a short list of some films. There's also a well-known celebrities such as the late Anna Nicole Smith, who in 2004 stated in an interview with For Him magazine, and I quote, "A ghost would crawl up my leg and have sex with me at an apartment a long time ago in Texas." She further explained her experiences, stating that she did not believe it was a dream, as it would happen every night. In 2012, recording artist Kesha made headlines for sharing her sexual experiences with a ghost.
I have to ask you, have you slept with a ghost?
I did go to the Bone Zone with a ghost.
She even has a song titled Supernatural, which many believe is about ghost sex. In 1999, actress Lucy Liu spoke about climaxing from sex with a ghost that visited her during a nap. Also in 2012, the Travel Channel aired a documentary called Ghostly Lovers that featured interviews with spectrophiles. And then there's Patty Negri, who is a recurring guest on Zach Bagans' Ghost Adventure.
What do you mean, there you go, Scott? Where are you going with this?
The Travel Channel show that they had.
Oh, okay, cool.
For those unfamiliar with her, Patty is a self-described witch who claims to be the foremost expert on ghost sex. And good for her, because we need a foremost expert on ghost sex, since there are really just so many unanswered questions. These are just a few of the questions that keep me up at night. Like, if you have a ghostly lover and a mortal lover, do they need to know about one another? If you hide it, is that cheating? Do ghosts have a sexual preference? I would imagine ghosts to be non-binary, but if they're still horny even after death, maybe they retain a gender identity. And what if you develop romantic feelings for your ghost? In 2018, Amanda Teague married a 300-year-old Haitian ghost pirate named Jack the Lad. But don't worry, because they dated before tying the knot. And Amanda confirmed in an interview that she doesn't suffer from any mental health issues. And you know what? I believe her. As unusual as that may sound, I'll offer my conclusion at the end of this video and explain why her belief isn't necessarily a sign of a mental illness, and the role we have when hearing these stories. But unfortunately, Their marriage ended in a divorce/exorcism. After her Haitian ghost pirate husband, Jack the Lad, tried to kill her. Sadly, Amanda's story is all too common. You think you know someone, but it turns out they were keeping secrets. You see, not only was he a 300-year-old Haitian ghost vampire, he was also an energy
There you go,
vampire,
Debra,
and he tried
vampire.
feeding off of her.
Is Deborah not
Also
here
in
anymore?
2018, a
I'm
big
here.
year for ghost lovers,
What happened to your
another
picture?
British woman, a
You turn
spiritual
the light off
counselor
because this
named
turns her on so
Amethyst
much.
Realm, made headlines for saying that she had had sex with at least 20 ghosts and had become engaged to a poltergeist after 9 months of dating. She even talked about having a ghost child with her boo. But before anyone gets judgy, just remember, we all have our foibles that may seem weird to others. For example, there's a British woman who has objectophilia, and she is in love and wants to marry a 93-year-old chandelier.
Must
But
let her up.
I mean, I really
Sounds
just don't
pretty
know about
good.
that. Like, I feel like the age difference would cause like some problems. And now you're thinking that Amanda's 300-year-old Haitian ghost vampire marriage and Amethyst's poltergeist engagement and impending ghost pregnancy, they don't seem so strange anymore. Okay? All about perspective. Looking at all these examples, we can only guess, are they really being visited by ethereal spirits? Or are they being seduced by demons, as some think? Or might there be an easier, non-supernatural explanation not rooted in superstition? Perhaps these are all simply episodes of sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is categorized
Shit. Stop.
as a type of parasomnia. Parasomnias are abnormal behaviors during sleep. Because it is connected to the rapid eye movement stage of the sleep cycle, sleep paralysis is considered to be an REM parasomnia. Not the band, by the way, rapid eye movement. You may have a single episode or experience several throughout the course of one evening. Sleep paralysis is most likely to occur while sleeping on your back, but can occur in any position. And sleep paralysis has been described throughout history, and scientists have suggested that sleep paralysis could be an explanation for reports of paranormal phenomena such as ghosts, alien visitations and abductions, and demons encountered such as the wicked succubus, which I mentioned earlier. At the end of the day, you're going to have to ask yourself, do you accept a scientific answer for these perceived encounters, or are you satisfied with a superstitious explanation? If we are to believe science, these are simply episodes of sleep paralysis hallucinations, a phenomenon which even in 2022 is still not entirely understood, responsible for the creation of thousands of years of superstitions around the globe. If we are to ignore the explainable scientific evidence and instead rely on superstition, well, I imagine that could be quite terrifying, to live in a world where not only do demons want to have sex with you to drain your living spirit, transforming your essence into demonic progenies while slowly weakening your body until you die, but also a world where the spirits of the dead hang around our bedrooms and are drawn towards our genitals. Ooh. If you accept the scientific explanation, you only need to find ways to reduce the stress in your life, as stress is a huge trigger known to produce episodes of sleep paralysis. This might be difficult in extreme cases, but not impossible, and you'll even improve your overall health as well. But if these really are ghosts and demons, then frankly, we are screwed in more ways than one. For those having these experiences, I'm not here to tell you what is or is not real, and I certainly don't judge you. For Amanda Teague, her 300-year-old Haitian ghost vampire Jack the Lad was real by all accounts. And as stated earlier, so long as that belief wasn't causing harm or interfering with her daily life, then who are any of us to judge? Mocking or making jokes of these stories would just be the easy way out and a form of bullying. I feel the better approach is to have compassion for them and for whatever circumstances that led to them believing in their spectral lovers. If I'm being critical with anyone, it is the priests and so-called ghost sex experts who, instead of helping the afflicted with reason and logic to remedy the situation, well, they seem more interested in feeding the fear and reinforcing the idea that demons and ghosts are looking around to bump uglies. And you can't tell me all the ghost hunting shows don't know better, but choose, in my view, to exploit those people for ratings. Of course, I can't speak to every encounter. Each will have their own unique circumstances. And if I find an example that can't be explained with knowable science, I'll definitely report on that. I mean, I'm completely open to a booty call from Anna Nicole Smith's ghost. But until that happens, these are most certainly caused by sleep
Jeremy's
paralysis
ready for a
hallucinations.
booty call.
I truly wish there were spectral lovers,
What?
and I'm a little embarrassed to admit it, but as a teenager, I performed several rituals to summon a succubus before educating myself on the origins of the superstition. I'm not saying ghost lovers or succubus encounters aren't possible. It's just they're the least likely of the many potential explanations available to us.
So you failed.
To remember, be kind to others,
Turned down,
and thanks for watching.
He got turned down by Lilith.
struck out.
Poor guy.
Well, is it sleep paralysis? But some people seem to have good experiences and they're not stressed out. They're enjoying it. So
I mean, if a ghost wants to come by my dick in the middle of the night, I'm not gonna say no. Just saying. Ooh, sandwich. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought that was an interesting topic for tonight.
yeah. So what do you think? Do you think it's sleep paralysis or is there actual?
I think too much is blamed on sleep paralysis when it really isn't. But
Right.
I mean, I don't think it's sleep paralysis. I think it's possible. I mean, in a world where spirits exist in the same rooms of us and stuff and whatnot, it's possible.
I feel like sleep paralysis is when somebody's about to astral project, but they don't know that that's what's happening and there's entities around. That's what I think it actually is.
Hold up a sec. We got Virgil Kane asking if that's a real beard. So maybe my shit's not in the light. So it's got to be Debra's or Jeremy's. I don't know what you're talking about, Virgil. And then we had Stu Bullivant, who was trying to.
I think he means the guy in the
advertise
video.
shit.
I think he means the guy in the video.
Ah, yes, you're probably right. Correction. We don't know, Virgil.
I don't know, but I liked his mustache. That was pretty. That was
That's like Captain Hook shit there going on there.
So what do you think, Scott? What is it? Sleep paralysis? A horny ghost? What people
I think-
having dreams?
There's too many people with schizophrenia, and that's what's going on. Myself, I don't. Not to put down Jeremy's idea, I don't know. I don't think ghosts are coming to fuck us.
Why not?
Because then we get into that fourth dimension, third dimension world again.
But it's happening, Scott. You just wait.
I just
All around you, you're gonna see. You just wait till you take your DMT, and then you'll have a different story.
Yeah, maybe I'll have a robot alien. Give it to
He'll
me.
be like the biggest believer. He'll go from the skeptic to like hands down the biggest believer, and we'll have to talk him down.
Okay, this is kind of funny. Thank you, Virgil. My ex-missus gave me a gobble when I was asleep, I think. Did it really happen? Jeremy, do you think it really happened?
Possible. Possible. 100% possible.
There you go, Virgil. What about you, Debra? Was it possible?
I think it's possible.
Possible, Virgil. That's 2 for you, buddy. So I know you guys need to watch Jeepers Creepers 1, both of you. I don't care if you know the synopsis, Jeremy. Like that was your teenage years growing up, dude. Like that should have been your fucking Halloween movie, dude.
I didn't do it on Halloween. I just went out and freaking ate cars and shit.
How do you do a bunch of paranormal podcasts and you don't like horror movies? That is
Yeah,
like beyond.
I do now. I didn't then. I do now.
Well, Jeepers
was-
Creepers, catch up, dude. Come on, catch up.
I'll try next Halloween.
I've seen it, but I mean, it's so I'm terrible for not really remembering movies too, so I have to like rewatch stuff.
Yeah, we watch that one every year. The first time I saw it was actually on cable, so I had to wait through the commercials, and then I probably didn't finish it and started halfway through, but that's one of my Halloween classics.
Oh, speaking of movies, did you ever watch Dark Skies, the movie?
No, but I'm writing it down right now.
Yeah, you wrote it down last time too. You got to watch that. It's an alien show that's actually the only one I really like. It's scary.
We're gonna do it. Dark Skies. Have you guys I just saw a trailer today for an Exorcist style movie with Russell Crowe on YouTube. The shit looks badass. I think it's coming out April 14th in the theaters.
Oh,
But if you can look up the trailer, like it's got Russell Crowe in it, man. Come on now. It's gonna be a fucking awesome movie. He's a priest exorcising people, and the demon's like worse than the fucking exorcist girl.
huh. I'll watch that. Yep.
I mean, they're redoing The Exorcist. You sure it's not that?
Well, they redid The Exorcist like 4 or 5 years ago, and that one sucked.
No, they didn't. They never redid
What?
The Exorcist till now.
They
done
made
Exorcist.
it like The Exorcist, where they named it The Exorcist. It was more like Paranormal Activity.
Well, there's
Wasn't
a new.
there a movie like on Netflix or something, like a series on The Exorcist or something?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe, like, if you can find it, I'd like to watch it.
Yeah.
But Deborah, what's our topic gonna be next week? Since it's your choice.
Well, you know what? And I actually even came prepared, and then Scott kind of brought it up a bit. But I want to talk about angels and spirit guides and near-death experiences, or when people have suddenly a stranger appears and pushes them to safety and then disappears. Because I think we all have spirit guides and we have angels around us and have these encounters.
Do you think my spirit guide's as drunk as I am right now?
Probably. I know mine's feeling pretty good right now, so.
I'm probably
that's-
just because I don't, pay attention. It's like, oh, for God's sakes, scroll. Still
rough
not.
night.
Feeling
Rough
pretty good
night.
right now. That's how I want my spirit guide to be. Well, we got before we get out of here, Virgil says he normally gets banned, and we have a sense of humor.
Hey.
And then he was trying to, I don't know, say something about his ex-wife. Normally he gets banned. Good for you, Virgil. Come back next week.
Absolutely. This is all seriousness, all this here.
Yeah, we are 100%
As
serious.
serious as a flatulence you think is a heart attack.
Oh my. Okay, so you guys are down? We're talking about angels. Angels and spirit guides.
Angels and spirit guides?
Well, because I think people see them. It's however they see them, right? Sometimes people, will be like a homeless person on the street, but says just the right thing at the right time. You know what I mean? Like those experiences where
Yeah, it's a guardian angel type thing.
yeah, they present themselves however they do, right?
I'm down for it. I love that. I love that theory. I love that topic. So I'm down for it.
Cool.
But and I guess that means we can wrap this up, Scott.
Wrapping it up. Say
I need
goodbye,
some-
everybody.
Bye, Scott.
Have sweet dreams after that last topic, everybody tonight.
Oh, no,
Good
there's gonna
luck
be some-
with the incubus or the
Yeah, right.
whatever one your gender is the opposite or not opposite of.
Enjoy those wet dreams, folks.